and we're seeing what you can only describe as a classic gray,
Mm-hmm. Super big eyes.
super big eyes, very small mouth, small nose,
Mm-hmm. Small nose. Big cheekbones and skull.
and it appears to be in some sort of interrogation room. It's real dark. It's a VHS tape, by the way, so we're not quite sure what they're recording on. There's speculation that the initials D&I, you see that in the bottom left corner, stand for Department of Naval Intelligence.
Mm-hmm.
There is a shadowy figure in the video that people say is Colin Powell, and that he was there.
Hmm.
At some point in the video, the extraterrestrial, the alien gray being, appears to go into some sort of physical distress.
Listen to Somewhere in the Skies by Ryan Sprague for free. Visit audibletrial.com/UFO.
We know now that in the early years of the 20th century, this world was being watched closely by intelligences greater than man.
Did the CIA write Wind of Change by the Scorpions?
Dr. Loeb, what percentage chance do you give it that you have indeed uncovered extraterrestrial or non-human technology?
Prior to your abduction, did you believe in UFOs?
All things unexplained.
So some of that, I think, sir, we'll save for closed session.
I'm Dr. Mal. CJ Derringer's back with me, and this is All Things Unexplained. Last week was one of the most historic events, potentially in American history, but certainly in ufology, and that was the historic UFO hearing in front of the House
Right.
Oversight Committee. We had David Grush, a UFO whistleblower. We had Ryan Graves, former pilot, and David Fravor, former pilot. He had the Tic Tac UFO encounter. Graves had the UFO encounters off the East Coast. Grush is the whistleblower that makes claims of proof of NHI's, non-human intelligences,
Right.
and that we have recovered craft. We're reverse engineering them. One thing I didn't know, because I live streamed that with DJ from our friends at Calling All
Oh.
Beings. Shout out to them.
There you go. More people we did shows with.
Yes. And CJ, what were your impressions of the UFO hearing?
Well, I felt like it was unprecedented. I felt like we had politicians from both sides all wanting the same thing, which is wonderful. I felt like those politicians were very verbal about their belief that something is happening and that we all deserve to know more. I thought that the stories that were shared were really crucial in moving things forward for more research and learning what's happening out there. I thought David Grush was very well spoken. Everything that he shared was very powerful, though there was a lot he couldn't share. And he's brave for coming out and doing that. I didn't think that I learned anything new from Ryan Graves or David Fravor. Like, I had heard those stories before, so there was nothing new there. Though I did like that Ryan Graves, I believe it was pushing for having more people report, having safer ways for pilots to report. In fact, it sounded like he had started his own nonprofit for people to be able to do that. So yeah, I thought that it was all positive, though it did feel a little bit like all of the politicians were kind of talking for no reason, like making all of their statements. I didn't know that those were all necessary. It went on for a really long time.
Well, it did go on for a long time, and it's a hot topic now, and we're going to talk about that right now is such a hot topic. We're not going to rehash the UFO hearing, CJ,
Okay.
but we're going to get into 3 quick things here that have evolved out of the UFO hearing. And one is, this is headline The Hill from yesterday, August 4th. This is by Merrick von Rennenkamp. Headline on The Hill: a monumental UFO scandal is looming. What Merrick points out basically is that we have 2 potential things going on here. One, either the U.S. government has mounted an extraordinary, decades-long cover-up of UFO retrieval and reverse engineering activities, and this would be where the UFO cabal comes in, right?
Right.
Like, you essentially can't go that route without having the existence of some sort of UFO cabal there. So that's one. Or 2, elements of the defense and intelligence establishment are engaging in a staggeringly brazen psychological disinformation campaign. I want to read that again. This is
What?
headline The Hill: a monumental UFO scandal is looming. So author Merrick von Rennenkamp, this came out yesterday, said one of 2 things is happening. Either the U.S. government has mounted an extraordinary, decades-long cover-up of UFO retrieval and reverse engineering activities. I think this is the case if everything they're saying is true and you just
Right.
believe that this is aliens, right? Or 2, elements of the defense and intelligence establishment are engaging in a staggeringly brazen psy-ops campaign or psychological disinformation campaign. And that's basically, if you take the point of view that, maybe what they're saying is not necessarily true. Or maybe they're misinformed.
Right. We've had this sort of question ourselves with Avi Loeb, right? Like, is he part of some sort of disinformation campaign? Like, he has made himself out to be the expert in extraterrestrial search and technology. But every time we've asked him about something that's come out, Ryan Graves or what have you, he's always said, nope, I can debunk that. Not true. Not a UFO, not a UAP. Like,
That's right. Well,
why?
even on our show, we were kind of taken aback because we thought, okay, we asked Avi Loeb about David Grush, the UFO whistleblower.
Mm-hmm.
And to me, this was a natural extension of Avi Loeb's work. Avi Loeb believes he may have recovered evidence of extraterrestrial technology off the coast of Papua
Papua New Guinea.
Papua New Guinea. All right, so to me, this is a natural extension, and it's fine. I understand the scientific method, but I think it's fine. Every good paper, one of the parts at the end is extensions, right? And it's fine to hypothesize about the extension of your work. In other words, the future ramifications or what's next. What does this mean? And if he did find proof of extraterrestrial technology, which, by the way, another thing that shocked me is he revealed that our military precisely knew where this thing had landed.
Mm-hmm.
But if he has found extraterrestrial technology, the next natural question is, what brought it here? What piloted it or what controlled it? If it's extraterrestrial, obviously that suggests, as David Grush would say, a non-human intelligence, an NHI. Well, why does he use the term NHI? Because he says we have no actual evidence that they are from a different part of space or a different part of Earth, like under the sea. They could very well be from a different dimension, for example.
You almost got me to bust out in some Little Mermaid there when you said under the sea.
Everything's something or another under the sea. Anyway, so Avi Loeb's like, well, first of all, David Grush is full of crap. He's misinformed. He doesn't understand the physics. There's no proof of other dimensions. I'm like, whoa. Okay.
Yeah, that took me back too.
Very interesting. So, Avi Loeb, is he a double agent for the UFO cabal? I mean, I don't know, but he was pretty hard hitting with David Grush, but yet he's searching
Mhm.
for his own evidence of extraterrestrial technology and proof of UFOs, proof of NHIs. And by the way, we're trying to give away a hoodie. If you have a better term than NHI, non-human intelligence, for what aliens should be called, just let us know in the comments on Facebook or YouTube. CJ, I mean, I actually think that the real story here could be a lot more nuanced than even what this author laid out in The Hill. I think it's not as clear cut.
I think it's definitely messy, whatever it is. And it's just so frustrating because I don't have any idea. I feel like every time I learn something new or we feel like we get close to an answer, we get thrown off course. Something new comes out. I just don't know which way it's going.
Well, I want to say this before I go into our second article. We're going to cover 3 news things that have evolved, in my opinion, since the UFO hearing. The UFO hearing has not left the news. Every day on Twitter, and by the way, shout out to Twitter, better known as X now, Twitter Spaces, X Spaces. There's some fantastic folks doing what are basically chat rooms there. They're called Twitter Spaces. And you can just talk the night away or your drive away in your car about UFOs and UAPs and lots of topics like that, right? So shout out to the UFO X community, the UFO Twitter community, the disclosure community on Twitter, on X. It's pretty vibrant. I could find 100 different news things about UFOs since the UFO hearing every day, right? It's not left the news. It's everywhere. It's on every news outlet. This next story has gotten almost no attention whatsoever, but I think it could tie back in. And matter of fact, I had such a hard time finding this.
Show me the
news
story. Show me the story.
This was published August 4th now.
This lead up is killing me.
Well, I had such a hard time finding this story since I told you and Smitty about it that I had to pull back up our old text messages and get that link because it's not
From a
out
day
there.
ago?
Well, this particular article was published a day ago, but the actual story I think is only from a few days ago. So I'm going to share that
hard
screen.
digging back through those
come on.
text messages a whole 48 hours.
Yeah, I know. But it's weird though, right, that I couldn't just Google it
No, that is true.
and pull it up anymore. So here it is. 2 U.S. sailors hit with charges tied to national security in China.
This is when I tell you that I never actually read the article
There you go.
that you sent me.
And you might be asking yourself, what does this have to do with UFO hearing? What does
Yes.
this have to do with UFOs? In separate cases, sailors accused
Pictures.
of passing national security information to Chinese intelligence officers at one. So
Sorry.
I just couldn't
This
help
is
but think.
serious. This is serious stuff.
Rick James called for security, and the one came in, he had crooked eyes.
You do a good Rick James security. Security.
Stop right there, crooked eyes. You take one more step, I'm throwing Rick James out the window. Anyway, okay. 2 U.S. sailors hit with charges tied to national security and China. This is not a very long article. Basically, the sum total of it is we had 2 sailors transmit or attempted to transmit more than 50 manuals and other documents containing technical and mechanical data about naval amphibious assault ships. Several of these materials were allegedly marked with export control warnings and contained details about the power structure, weapons systems, and damage control aboard these ships.
No good.
One of the shocking things Ryan Graves said at the UFO hearing was that it messed with their technology,
Right.
shut their systems down. The lady that cuts my hair sometimes, she revealed to us, her brother's in the Navy. He's an engineer on one of these ships, and they have UFO encounters, and when they do, it shuts their systems down. It's his job to get them back online, and they're terrified they're being hacked. Congressman Matt Gaetz came on the UFO hearing and said that he and he alone has seen evidence from a pilot who had an encounter. Multiple pilots had this encounter, and it shut their systems down. What normally would have been recorded and automatically captured on video and camera and uploaded to the cloud did not happen because it shut their system down. And this pilot managed to take one manual photo of what Matt Gates could not describe in any way whatsoever as being human. This is where the nuance comes in. It's not so simple, in my opinion, because we do not know how many factions are involved in this UFO phenomenon that's emerging right now. Nor
Right.
do we know their motivations. But one thing that we're not paying attention to, but is clearly happening, is we have been infiltrated on many levels by China. Right now, we're trying to find out and reveal. This is the disclosure movement, and this is why I think we have to be careful. We're trying to reveal what is potentially the greatest technology and weaponry known to man.
Right.
The movie Oppenheimer is out right now. This notion of mutually assured destruction, simultaneous atomic destruction, this has been on this show before. Oppenheimer, this situation arose, right, where they had to go to our government and say, look, if one of these other governments is to perfect this technology before we do, we're doomed.
Yeah.
The world is going to change, and not for the better. We just don't know exactly what's happening here. If there really is extraterrestrial technology, it's just like the day after Roswell laid out that if you believe Roswell really happened, CJ, then what really happened from a military perspective was we just discovered the most shockingly powerful military potential ever in the history of humankind. Now tell me, would our enemies not be interested in that?
I think they would be.
Right now we have law out there, laws we're trying to push through by Adam Schiff and others, trying to force private companies to reveal technological secrets, to reveal if they have or are reverse engineering UFOs. Whether they are UFOs or not, do you believe that China would love to have our technological secrets? Absolutely. And by the way, what better way to get them than for us just to get it for them?
Yeah. Just
Here we
put it
go.
on out there. Well, maybe the cabal is necessary then.
It could be, yes. It absolutely could be. You know, I've heard it said before. This was way before social media, though, and cell phones and such. It was kind of a known thing that in order for something like a town to function correctly, you had to have just a few people in charge who sometimes made things happen, maybe not by the book.
Right.
It was the only real way. I can't remember what this phenomenon was called, but you couldn't listen to everybody in the town and get all their opinions and all their input and expect to have a fully functioning, efficient town happening. So 2 U.S. sailors hit with charges tied to national security. In China, this is getting almost no press. We actually did something quite unprecedented at All Things Unexplained this past week. We debunked something this past week, CJ.
With the help of some friends.
With the help of some friends, and shout out to
Bigfoot Crossroads.
Yes, Bigfoot Crossroads. Thank you, CJ. Thank you, Bigfoot
Yes.
Crossroads. They pointed us in the right direction. Folks, there is a mad rush for UFO news right now. So much so that folks are putting out there anything they can get their hands on. If there's a UFO story out there, they want it and they want to be the first to get it, and they're going to get it out there.
I mean, us too.
Us too. But you know what? I do feel like that we might put a little digging into it, right? Here's what happened this past week. Clayton Morris, former Fox News anchor, who I like, he does a good job. But Clayton Morris with the debrief put out a video where he's interviewing Jon Stewart, not the comedian, but the politician from Illinois. And Clayton Morris said, we have an exclusive video from Jon Stewart. It's shocking. It shows a UFO or an alien interrogation by military officials. And it is shocking,
Mm-hmm.
but it's not an exclusive. Matter of fact, it was in a documentary in the 90s and quite a good one. I liked it called Area 51, The Alien Interview. And I brought a little clip of it here that we can take a look at. But it only took me minutes to get to what the true origin of this alien interrogation video.
Again, with the help of some of our friends.
Well, but I'm counting that in there, right? Like
Yeah.
I put it out there.
Right.
What's up with this? I don't know what to make of this alien interrogation video that Clayton Moore's talking about. And with the help of some friends, they pointed me in a certain direction. And within minutes, I had located the entire video for myself
Mm-hmm.
from a 90s documentary, which, by the way, had Bob Lazar in it, Art Bell, all kinds of great people. Area 51, the alien interview. But Clayton Morris is putting it out there from the debrief like this is an exclusive. And by the way, I knew something was up. Talking about research. As soon as I tried to figure out how to contact Jon Stewart, because I wanted to talk to Jon Stewart, Illinois politician. Nah, I couldn't figure out how to contact him. I asked some people, how did you contact him for your news story on him? Heard nothing back. No phone number, no website, no email, no social media that I know of, nothing. How many politicians have nothing? If anything, they have too much. Too many ways to contact them. So, folks, you have to be careful what you're believing out there. You have to take all this UFO news with a grain of salt. And I don't mean to be a Debbie Downer, but there's such a mad rush for exclusives and for information. Folks are putting anything out there and portraying it in ways that maybe it shouldn't be portrayed. Now, with that being said, one thing about this video is it could still be real. It's true, it's not an exclusive to anybody in 2023, but in the 90s, when they showed it, that same documentary had reenactments, which they labeled as reenactments. They were clearly people in suits, and it was clearly fake. But that was not the case with this. I'm going to play just a little bit of it here for you. And it had a mysterious, shadowy figure named Victor, which was kind of interesting. This is from not Clayton Morris's exclusive on the debrief, but Area 51, the alien interview.
Story stands or falls on the credibility of the tape he supplied. Here, exclusively for the first time anywhere, is the uncut, uninterrupted alien interview tape, shown in its entirety in real time.
I want to interrupt here. This is from 1997, by the way. And this video is supposedly filmed sometime in the 90s. I'm going to turn... The video itself actually has no audio. They added this music in, obviously. And we're seeing what you can only describe as a classic gray.
Mm-hmm. Super big eyes.
Super big eyes. Very small mouth.
Mm-hmm. Small nose. Big cheekbones and
Small nose.
skull.
And it appears to be in some sort of interrogation room. It's real dark. It's a VHS tape, by the way. We're not quite sure what they're recording on. There's speculation that the initials, D&I, you see that in the bottom left corner,
Mm-hmm.
stand for Department of Naval Intelligence. There is a shadowy figure in the video that people say is Colin Powell. And that he was there. At some point in the video, the extraterrestrial, the alien gray being, appears to go into some sort of physical distress. And by the way, it is claimed by Jon Stewart and others that this being was communicating telepathically. That they basically brought in some people with purported telepathic abilities, kind of like we saw on Independence Day, right? And that they were communicating with the NHI that way. I'm going to fast forward a little here because at this point here, The extraterrestrial appears to be having some sort of physical distress, and 2 doctors come in, mask on, surgical scrubs, latex gloves, and they appear to be attempting to clear its airway, mouth. It's pretty disturbing. The figure has a very tiny neck, by the way, very tiny neck.
Mm-hmm.
And one reason they point that out because they say this is not a person in a suit. Just because look how tiny the neck is. There's no way anybody could pull that off.
It's hard to see the body.
You removed the
though, is
soundtrack from the tape.
It's hard to see the what?
the body.
It is. But I can tell you for those listening to this that it is kind of shocking.
Yeah, it's a shocking video for sure. It's hard to make anything of it. Of course, context is everything, right? If you're told it's one thing and you watch it having heard that it's that one thing, you might think, oh wow, okay, this is really an alien being interrogated. And then if you hear, no, it's from a document, I don't know. It's hard to know what to make of that one.
Right. Well, one thing Jon Stewart, the politician, said to Clayton Morris with Redacted is that he had submitted that video to Tim Burchett.
Oh,
And I tried to find out, right? That's one reason I wanted to contact Jon Stewart, is to know, okay, did you submit that to Tim Burchett?
mm-hmm.
I would love to hear from Tim Burchett,
Yeah. Oh,
Congressman
I
Tim
would
Burchett,
love to
representing
have
the 2nd
Tim
District,
Burchett on the
Tennessee.
show.
Yeah, oh yeah,
Yeah.
that would be great. DJ from Calling All Beans and I from All Things Unexplained during the UFO hearing had this little thing going during the UFO hearing. I'm going to pull it up right now. The dadgummit shotgun. We made it up to 4, possibly 5 shots for dadgummits. Again, this is just, this is what I'm saying. I'm going to go back. This is post UFO hearing. Folks are really scrambling for stories. Merrick Von Rennenkamp says there's 2 things happening here. Either we've got decades-long cover-up of UFO retrieval and reverse engineering activities, or a major PSYOP situation's happening. But I say it's a little more complicated than that. We don't know the motivations of all the factions involved here, CJ. I'll give you a great example. Okay, China, they're gearing up. They could be ready to invade Taiwan next week, right? This, by the way, unfortunately would put us on the precipice of a potential World War III.
Yeah, that would
if
not
that
be good.
happened. This has to be taken as a part of the UFO story, especially when we have headlines like from this past week. 2 U.S. sailors charged with treason, revealing some sort of information to China. Now, by the way, we can do a little extension here of this situation, going back to the other article. One of these 2 things is happening. Well, if we have been engaging in a decades-long cover-up of reverse engineering UFO technology, recovered alien beings, and HIs, if that's the case, what more top secret classified information could there possibly be to reveal to China than that?
Yeah,
What
right.
more important information could China, North Korea, others be trying to find out than that?
Not much.
So I think it's definitely part of the story, but also, okay, we have to be very careful with what we're hearing, what we're seeing, because we cannot make rushes to judgment when even folks like Clayton Morris, a well-regarded news person with Redacted, even he can put things out there too quickly, right? He put out an exclusive coverage of an alien interrogation. This was not the case. It only took a few minutes of research from All Things Unexplained, along with help from our friends, to uncover the actual origin of said video of the alien interrogation, the alien interview. But that just goes to show you, CJ, how much other stuff is floating around out there that's
There's
even
so
more
much.
speculative than this.
And we have so much more that we need to uncover still.
Yes. And I'm not going to call anybody out, but there are podcasts out there happening right now. They have Twitter accounts.
We're coming
They're-
for you, Bill Nye.
Well, it's not Bill,
I know. I'm teasing.
but they're putting out very speculative exclusives. Okay.
Well, it's all the clickbait. Everybody just wants you to click.
No, you're right. And they're getting lots of attention. They're getting lots of followers. And I've been real proud of us here. We've not really engaged in any of that sort of stuff. But there are podcasts on Twitter right now. They're saying, okay, releasing 2 videos this afternoon, just waiting on the go ahead. These have never been seen before. Exclusives. They release them. One video, you can't see anything. The other video has already been released on YouTube years before.
No, you're right. Everybody wants to be the one to break the news, and they're willing to do anything to do it. But truly, in today's modern world, it really is clicks and likes and views and what have you, and people are doing anything to get attention. Anything.
That's right. Well, so be careful out there, folks. To recap, we're 3 years old now.
Yeah, and speaking of doing anything to get attention, you can find us on Cameo and pay us $3 and we will give you a message.
You can even request a meeting.
Yeah.
That's right. Find us on Cameo. You can find all our links on linktree.com/ATU podcast. It takes a lot to make a podcast happen. You can also find us on Venmo, PayPal, Cameo, and we really appreciate all of you. We accomplished so much these past 2 weeks. We've climbed the Apple Podcast science charts. It's just pretty mind-blowing to me how far we've come.
We've come so far. Not just in the show, but it's people too, truly.
That's right. And thanks to all our listeners. Thanks to our guests that have come on with us. Thanks to all the unexplained ones out there. Those of you that are interacting with us on social media, that email us, that comment on our videos. And another thing you can do to help us is click subscribe or click follow. It really helps out a lot more than you know. Also leave comments and hit the like buttons wherever you're at. That really helps out a lot. It helps make this show happen. It helps makes it possible. So thank you. Hit those follow buttons and subscribe buttons. And CJ, I said my piece on the UFO topic for this week. I'm going to give you the final thought and let you take us out of here.
Gosh, you sure did say it. My final thought, I am lost, truly. Every day I'm thinking about this subject in terms of what's happening behind the scenes, what we're seeing. Is it true? Who do we believe? Who do we trust? And we had that long conversation on the Calling All Beings podcast. We had very differing opinions on how much information we should be allowed to know. If we had enough information as citizens of this country, what would we do with it? Would it cause some kind of panic? Should we just trust the few people that have the knowledge to keep it safe? I don't know. I don't know the answers to that, but I do plan on continuing to forge ahead, keep researching, keep learning, and see what we can find out. And keep an open mind.
Well said. Skies are not classified.
Yes. Stay happy, stay strange, and listen to all things unexplained.
Thanks.
Like.
Share.
Follow.
All things unexplained.
Swag and much more at linktree.com/ATU podcast. BigfootUFO.com.
So some of that I think, sir, will save for closed session.